Hello and welcome to Divorced Women Creating Your Peace. I am your host, Velma Gallant. Super excited to have you here today. We are interviewing inspiring women who have created peace and joy after their divorce. And today's guest is a very special lady that I'm excited to share with you because she took what she learned from her divorce and turned it into something really special. Jeanell Greene is a life and relationship coach and a marriage mentor. She works with couples to help save their marriage and heal their families. Through her own personal experience with divorce and now presently living the dream of being a 16-year marriage full of love, kindness, joy, and passion. She teaches people the power of forgiveness and vulnerability, and that the most important and beautiful relationship is the one with themselves. Welcome to the show, Jeanell.
Thank you, Velma. I just wrote that I redid my bio, and as I'm listening to you, I'm like moved.
It is. I loved what you shared there in that, because what I'm really loving about what you've created after your divorce, and I'm going to get to our first question here, is that it did not stop you from having a beautiful relationship. You did not allow it to harden your heart. And I so love that. So we're going to jump into this first question because I really love the answers that come from all of our guests.
Yeah.
What was your most valuable lesson from divorce, and what made that so valuable for you?
Yeah. What I would say is like 4 words. So 4 words, 5 words. Don't be bitter, be better.
Oh, I like that.
And why I chose that was because as much as my life did not go the way it was planned, obviously, I'm Catholic, I'm Filipino, we don't do that kind of stuff. It was exactly what needed to happen. And so I kind of had to throw out the rule book of what I thought my expectations of what my life was going to look like. I had to start saying no to the constructs of my culture and, religion and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had at the end of the day, I had to get really responsible for, first of all, choosing to get married when I knew kind of deep down that I wasn't 110% in. Well, Jeanell, you're supposed to have kids right now and you're like 3 years late. And I think it comes down to myself. It was my self-worth at that time where I felt like, okay, I think I was about 24. And I said to myself, well, if I don't say yes to this man, what if nobody else says yes? No one else asks me. And then I'm alone. And so it was fear that was actually driving that yes, not love. And in the work I do with couples, this is what I see is we all want love. We want joy. We want passion. We want all of it. And yet we spend so much of our energy and our time and our thoughts in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely. So I say to my clients, well, if you want to get to the holy mountain, you got to actually take the tram up there. You're not going to go you're not going to go south when you need to go north.
Right. Well, and yeah, knowing where you want to go is part of it, but being willing to take the path there is another.
Yeah. And willing to take the path no matter what that looks like. Because I think one of the things I have this really great quote that I love. I say it to myself and I say it to my clients every day. Pain and suffering only exist when you resist what is so. So when you resist that your partner should be like this more, should be more sensitive, should be more sexual, should be like, we're always trying to change them. And the reason why I say the relationship with ourselves is even more important is it's our own feeling of inadequacy that is driving those expectations. It's like, I don't like me, so I need you to love me more so that I can love myself. And that's just a lot of pressure to put on another person when they've got their own crap they're dealing with.
Right? No, they're doing two people's worth of loving for you
Yeah.
because you're not taking care of your own, right?
Yes.
I
Exactly.
love that. I love that. And I would agree with you 100% because um it's the resisting that creates the pain. I mean, if you think about it, even strictly from an exercising perspective, right? When you're lifting too much weight, your muscles feel the pain,
Mhm.
right? And it's the resistance training, right? So
Yeah.
I can definitely see the connection there. I love that you shared that you learned to take responsibility for your choice, the choice you made and the choices you make
Yes.
as well.
Yes. It's funny. My husband, his name is Mike, and he is sweet and adorable and thoughtful and kind and just, this man loves to see me smile, and he will do whatever it takes to see my teeth. But one thing he used to always say to me is, I really wish I met you before the other guy. And I always say him, no, honey, because that version of me was completely a different human being than who I am today. My
Mhm.
self-development, my growth, started inside my divorce. I brought my ex-husband to the Landmark Forum, and I'm like, you need to be fixed. And of course, halfway through, I'm like, uh-oh, it's me?
Wait a minute.
And that was when the light came on for me. And
Mhm.
so, I went into that course thinking something's wrong with you, you're wrong, you're bad, you're a terrible husband. And I came out saying, you know what, I am so sorry that I've been judging you and being mean and withholding my love. And you're a great person, it just doesn't work for me. And so I was able to leave him whole and complete and not tearing him down. And we really got to complete our marriage on a really positive note. I think it costed us $80 to complete our marriage. And we even went to the divorce courts together, signed the papers, went out for dinner. Like it was no thing. And I don't think that it would have turned out that way had I not had that moment of clarity and that moment where I actually took responsibility for my own behavior, despite even if he started it, all because we get in this couple, he started it, and if she didn't, but no, I had to own my stuff.
How
And
would our world be if each of us owned our stuff?
oh my
Like if
God.
everybody took responsibility for yourself, we'd have a whole world full of people, a whole world full of responsible people, right?
Yeah. Well, I think war would end.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I think we would just be in a completely different world if we act, and I want to create a context for everyone. When I say responsibility, I don't mean blame and fault. When I say responsible, I mean the ability to respond. And when you're empowered, you can respond. But when you're like, it's, I'm the victim, life is happening to me, you can't respond because you feel like
Mm-hmm.
you have no power. And so being responsible is actually an empowering thing, not this like pressure thing that a lot of people constitute the word responsibility with. So I just wanted to create that.
Right. I think it's a really important distinction as well. And I love also the conversation that you had with your husband where he had said, I wish I would have met you sooner. And the awareness that you bring with that one, who you were then is not who you are now. And he fell in love with who you are now.
Yeah.
That's the woman he loves.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
old
you,
Jeanell would have stepped all over him and been like, you're boring because you're way too nice. And I really saw it in my forum was like, why do I attract the bad boys? Why do I attract the boys that I know my mom is not gonna like? And I know it's gonna break my heart. But of course, in the moment, you're like, well, that's just how it goes. It's coincidental. And then I got clarity that no, this is not coincidence. This is me and my energy and attracting the kind of people who I allowed to hurt me and to treat me badly. And so I had to just recreate who I was and what I stood for and the kind of man I wanted. So, after I completed my divorce, I actually sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote down everything that this dream man would be. And I met him 3 months later. And so when I say to my girlfriends, like, oh my God, I met this man, it's by accident or by chance, and I'm so lucky. My girlfriend's like, that was not luck. That was manifestation, because you were clear about what you wanted in your life. I'm like, yeah,
Absolutely.
fair enough.
Absolutely. I don't know where I got this saying from, but luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And you had prepared yourself
Yes.
for this man when the opportunity came up.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And and this man is my inspiration. This man has taught me what it means, what unconditional love looks like. I thought I knew what it was, and then I met my husband. This man is overly responsible, overly apologetic, overly thoughtful, but it's just like all the things that my childhood or my parents or my culture taught me that was not bad, but not great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, in my family, we never apologized to each other. You would fight, then you'd go off to your rooms, and then you'd cool down, and then you would come back and act like nothing happened. That was my family. And it worked. But then all of a sudden I have this husband who is just all about communication and accountability and acknowledgement and apologizing. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is powerful stuff. And vulnerable. He's taught me vulnerability. He's taught me forgiveness. Yeah, he's just, yeah. And I'm so glad that I didn't close myself to that. I'm so glad that I wasn't like, I'm never getting married ever again. I'm jaded. And that's actually what came out of my mouth right before I went through my divorce, is I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And then afterwards, I'm like, no, hold on. That's not, just because I had this bad experience doesn't mean that I'm not meant to be married.
Absolutely. And I've said that myself. When people ask me, would you ever get married again? Because I've been divorced twice, right? Mm-hmm. I said, and my response is, yes, I would, because I'm the one who is the caretaker of my heart. I choose whether it hardens or not, and I choose that it does not harden. I'm not handing that power over to anyone.
Yeah.
That's mine, and I'm responsible for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just with a client about an hour ago, and we were talking about how love is so powerful, and yet we're so afraid of it. And we do these things to protect ourselves, right? We make up stories. Our partner might not be as affectionate this day, and all of a sudden we already start killing off the relationship. It's like, why do we do that when all we want is love and belonging and acceptance, and yet this person is a little bit off, and we all of a sudden are like, it's over. He doesn't love me anymore. It's like, why do we do that? Why do we do that to ourselves?
Why would we choose that meaning for something that we don't even know the meaning behind?
Yeah. And we all of a sudden think that everyone's out to get us. It's like, and I said to this man, I said, we gotta be willing to give our partners the benefit of the doubt. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And when we, crap on them for every time they forget to take out the garbage, or that, whatever, we're just killing that intimacy and the trust and the safety, which is so important for our children, for each other, for ourselves. And when we judge other people, we don't have time to love them.
True enough. And how often do we do that to ourselves? How often do we judge ourselves?
Yeah.
And then we don't get the opportunity to love ourselves, and we kill off the opportunities for ourselves, and we think we're keeping ourselves safe, but what we're doing is keeping ourselves wounded.
Yeah. Yeah. And closed. One thing I really get from being in a relationship coach is that so many of us just want to feel heard. We want to feel understood. And yet when those opportunities come, we don't take them because we're so afraid of rejection.
True. Very true. I know as I was transitioning out of my marriage, the mantra that I chose for myself, and this was I call them pre-programmed decisions.
Mm.
And my pre-programmed decision, or the mantra that I chose for myself and how I be in the world, is strength, grace, and dignity. And so my responses to my ex were through that way of being. I was choosing strength, grace, and dignity. And in order to do that, I couldn't be the angry, bitter person anymore. I had to come from a grounded space in order to have strength, grace, and dignity.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just did a podcast yesterday with, I don't know if you know, Drew, the divorced dad's advocate. Do you know him?
No.
So he's like a you, but he does men. And we were talking last night, and as you were speaking, I thought about him. He's been in a divorce proceedings for 10 years. Wow. Still now, it's been 10 years that he's been fighting for his kids. And I thought to myself, like, man, like, they're almost in it just to be in it. It's like, I don't even know if they even know why they're in, like, doing this thing to each other anymore. They're just in it to it's just like this little boxing match that people are like, why are we even here? Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we hold grudges and we remember why we hold it in the beginning, but afterwards, like 10 years later, you're mad at this person. Like, why am I mad at you again? I can't remember, but I'm just going to keep being mad at you because I'm not willing to actually say I'm sorry. But, we just kind of perpetuate this fear and this, like, wanting to hurt each other. Rather, like you said, if we came from grace and dignity and honor of ourselves, first of all,
right?
And then the person that we said that we were married to, like, what's possible? What's possible is friendship. What's possible is amazing co-parenting. It's possible these children still get to learn what an amazing relationship looks like, even if you're not married.
That's really, as you were sharing some of that, the vision that came into my head is of two people dancing the same dance, even though the music stopped. Right? And how often do we do that? We continue with the same patterns of responding or reacting to someone, even when the music stopped, even when the marriage is done, even when we're not living with that person or near that person or sharing any of those things together anymore. We still continue that same dance.
Yeah. And sometimes we need to change the dance. And this is where I come in, right? Sometimes people go, well, we've been doing this dance, it's not working, but we don't know any other dance.
So Jeanell will teach you some new dance moves.
Steps. You've been zigging, we're now going to zag. You've been doing the electric slide, now we're going to do the salsa, because obviously what you're doing isn't working, so let's just shake it up a bit. And sometimes people know that, they just don't know the how. So
right.
And this is
and that's why there are people out there like you, and it can't, like, I know one of the biggest gifts that I gave myself as I was transitioning out of my marriage was counseling. I made the choice that I deserved that kind of support as I did that. And it was so valuable because I did find myself a counselor that was that would lovingly call me on my stuff. Like one of the things that he pointed out to me as I was sharing my red flags that were there before I even married him, and again, questioning my responsibility in that. And what he pointed out to me was those were not red flags about my ex. They were red flags about me and what I was willing to accept. And I was like, oh, that's good. And so he really helped me to find the areas that I was responsible for and how could I continue to cultivate those skills, because it really is a skill.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I love this because I love talking about things that are not what we think they are. You know, sometimes we think that the problem is with the partner. And then when we go inwards and we go, okay, well, where did this come from? You know, what I really enjoyed and what really opened the things up for me was going back to when I was 9 and
Mm-hmm.
realizing, oh my God, this thing that happened to me when I was 9, which has nothing to do with the now. However, it is linked. And you know, when I was 9, my dad cheated on my mom with my mom's best friend, had a baby, and left us. And I was 9. I was the eldest. And I realized again in my course that what I made up in that moment was I'm unlovable. I can't trust men. And everybody I love will leave me. And so that was my context in all of my relationships moving forward. I was clingy, I was needy, I was, you know, temperamental, I was anxious. I was like, tell me you love me 100 times a day, please, you know? But I didn't know why I was like that. And until I got to see so clearly, like, wow, that thing when I was 9 is still running the show now, and how that's been impacting me, that was a total game changer for me, because then I really got to say, okay, here's the proof in the pudding, right?
Well, and that really points to what I heard and what you just shared was, I'd said earlier, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I think unluck
Yeah, yeah,
runs on those same principles, because you were prepared for that kind of experience. And then the opportunity, those bad boys would show up, right? And you got exactly what you were prepared for.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, you know, for people who are, you know, listening, I really say, like, be careful what you think about. Be careful, watch the words you use, because you manifest all that. You know, I've got a
Mhm.
girlfriend who's, you know, she's also divorced and she's looking to get into a new relationship, but her ex lied to her and cheated on her and gave her some sort of STD or something. But anyway, her language is men are liars, comes out of her mouth all the time. And she's
Mhm.
wondering why she can't find a good man.
Mhm. Yep.
Right? So I think it's really, we have to be really very careful. And sometimes we get irresponsible about what comes out of our mouth. We go, oh, you know what I mean. It's like, well,
Yeah.
no, because your subconscious is listening to the words coming out of your mouth and accepting that as truth. And so we have to be very careful, just as we are careful with our children and what we say to them. We got to
Mhm.
be careful how we speak to ourselves as well.
I agree with you 100% on that. I know one of the beliefs that I dealt with just a couple of years ago as I was transitioning out of another relationship was, I can't trust myself,
Mm,
because I keep getting myself into these situations. And so I went after that belief, because I'm like, that's not what I want to own.
yeah.
So I one of the processes that I use inside of um my practice allowed me to release that belief. And that's, so what I do for others, I had to do for myself. I had to use these same tools for myself so that I could continue to move forward in my own life the
Yeah.
way I wanted to,
Yeah.
not the way I was, um not the dance I'd been dancing to.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things that you said early on was that you had referred to your previous marriage as exactly what needed to happen. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that just a little bit more.
Yeah. I I don't believe in mistakes, and yeah, I don't believe there are mistakes in the planet. I think sometimes it looks like that way in the moment.
Mhm.
And you know, as I'm saying this, I'm really thinking about the growth of my business, right? Um,
Mm.
but had I not had that experience, I would still be the same people pleasing, high achieving perfectionist who wore a mask 24/7. I wore this smiley, I'm happy all the time, life is great mask, because I thought that that's what people expected of me. And when I went through my divorce, which was very secretive, by the way, I did not want, no one knew that we were having problems, right? We kind of hush, and obviously it was a mixture of shame and also like, we don't want anyone getting in our business as we try to figure this all out. But it was the first time in my life that I went against what everyone said to me. It was the first time I put my foot down and said, no, this is what's happening. I don't care if you guys hate me or don't agree with me or you want to disown me. This is what I need for me. And it was a really both empowering experience and also a very painful one, because my mom didn't talk to me for 2 years. Like, she talked to me, but like, there was something, there for sure. And again, being responsible, I got it. I got her disappointment. I got that there was some shame there for her, like a dishonoring of the family or of our religion and all of that. I got it. And so I didn't hold that against her. I just knew in my heart that she would love Mike when she got to know him. And I knew that would happen in time. And so I just let it happen. And so after about 2 years, my mom finally came around, and now like she's his biggest fan. She calls him Huggy Bear. She calls Ian before she calls me to invite us over for dinner. When I'm talking on the phone with him, she wants to let me talk to him too. She loves him. And so it was a long process to get to where we are now. But I knew in my heart that this was the right thing to do, was to leave this relationship. And even when Mike came into my life before my divorce was complete, a few months before. And my mom was like, no, like, wait till your divorce is final before you start dating. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I've been craving love and connection and, this thing, like there was clearly something there. I'm like, I'm not going to put it on hold so that other people are more comfortable. I'm not going to, I'm going to go after this thing. My mom's like, well, you need to mourn, give it time. I'm like, no, there's nothing to mourn, Mom. I need to just get on with my life. And this is it. And my husband once asked me, he goes, was there ever a time you weren't sure? Like you kind of looked over your shoulder and kind of looked backwards. And I said, never. Never, 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 never. And
beautiful.
And yeah, we just celebrated our 16 years last Thursday.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, there was a few things that I heard in that. One was that you gave yourself and your mother permission to have the beliefs she had.
Yeah.
You didn't feel the need to change her. You allowed her to be exactly where she was.
Yeah.
In order that she could move through this at her pace.
Yeah.
To come out on the other side. And that is grace.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful example of grace that you gifted your mother and yourself.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. But up until that moment, I was a whole different human being. I was scared. I was like, if I could hide in a bear cave, for most of my life and just come out when I needed to, like that would be great for me. Like I was so afraid to show up. I was afraid to open my mouth. I was afraid to ask for what I wanted. I was afraid to dream. And after that, doing the course and then really just going to work on myself and figuring out who I am and where I still have yet to grow and heal, I would definitely not be where I am today. And so had that divorce not happened, I would not have met Mike. Had I not met Mike, I would not be this advocate for families and marriage. Like I would not be here right now. So yeah, I absolutely think everything happens for a reason.
I
And
think it
I'm
happens
better
for,
for
I believe the same thing. And what I'm also hearing is by having the courage to take a stand for what you knew was true for you, there's a huge difference in the life that you would have had to the life that you actually have.
it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that, because what I'm hearing in that, and the gift that I hope that the ladies who are listening receive, is that you're worth the grace and you're worth the courage.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, is that we often don't feel that way. And so
Mhm.
again, more suffering, more pain, more resistance. When we can just, and I get it, that was me, perfectionist, all of that stuff. There's just so much angst and expectation and guilt and shame and all these things that we all deal with. And I realize, like, I can't even be me because I'm trying to be something else that I am not, and so I just had to embrace it. I'm like, this is who I am. Okay. I'm going to be that one who got divorced. Right. I'm that girl. And that's okay. And I just feel like we have to give up the idea that life is fair, or that life has to go a certain way, or that life is a straight line, because it's not. And I think sometimes we wish that life was easy, but I think what we need to wish for is not that life is easy, is that we have the strength and the grace and the courage and the faith and the hope to get through
Mm.
whatever it is that life throws at us, and to look at each challenge as a moment of learning and growth. And therefore, it's so much easier to feel gratitude and feel abundant when we go, yeah, you know what? This is not happening to me. This is happening for me. And yeah, right now it sucks. It hurts. It is so, we are such creatures who crave stability and security and, all these things. And when our lives don't feel that way, we get really freaked out. And for me, I've been really training myself to be okay with the ups and the lulls and the ebbs and the flows and the upside downs. I love roller coasters. And so I feel like sometimes I hate being on the roller coaster, right? Because it's so emotionally draining on the ups and downs, but that's what makes life so special, is that it's like, yay, oh no, yay, oh no. But when you get to the end of it, you're like, man, that ride was awesome. Like, when I die, that's how I want to feel about my life. Like, what a ride that was. It was crazy. I cried, I laughed, I hated moments of it, I loved moments of it, and it was all worth it.
It's a
That's
beautiful rewriting of the story. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Jeanell, I have so much enjoyed our conversation, and I truly believe that you have brought a lot of value to the ladies who are going to be listening to this show. And I want to make sure that they know where to find you. So, for those of you on YouTube, or any of the other live locations, Jeanell can be found at jeanellgreene.com. And in the show information, you will find a lot of her other links to her socials and that kind of thing. And definitely go check her out. She's going to have a lot of great information for you to help you create 16 years plus of a beautiful marriage and a beautiful relationship.
Yeah. And I just want to add in that I don't just coach couples. I do also have people who just want to find themselves, want to learn how to trust themselves and love themselves again. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone. Love it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Jeanell. I really appreciate you and what you brought to the table here today.
Thank you, Velma.
And for those of you who are watching or listening, please like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you got out of today's show. We'd love to hear from you. Have a brilliant day.